I shared in the first service today, I pulled that one back out because this whole series is extremely dangerous. This whole message series of the forgiveness that we're going through. I shared last week how I'm actually praying for people to get so uncomfortable in life groups, so uncomfortable in worship services that they have to respond. People walk out, pick up the cell phone. This is highly uncomfortable. We're talking about highly dangerous, but highly, highly relevant to our everyday normal life. So yeah, you're safe, you're comfortable in your cush chairs today, but you may not feel comfortable when we move through this, and that's very intentional today. And keep going to life groups. The life groups are really going deep. They're really going messy. Some amazing things happen in all the life groups this week. The Sunday night group that I'm a part of, before I even walked in the door last Sunday, people were talking and sharing and asking questions. I actually had a call for a timeout and asked for prayer before we got any further into the discussion. People came really locked and loaded. So keep doing that. Get involved. Go deeper. A couple of years ago, Cindy and I had to take a trip out to California. Had never been to the San Francisco Bay Area. Always wanted to go. So we finally got to do the Golden Gate. We got to do all the little zigzag streets. It was really fun, really cool. The one place I did not get to go to was Alcatraz. And all you have is a blanket, no bed, and a concrete slab. And there were psychological, emotional issues that came out of putting people in the hole. But the idea was grow up, deal with your issues, come on. But instead it made things worse if people went to the hole quite often. Now if you take a tour of Alcatraz, they will put you into the hole. They will close the door behind you. No light gets in underneath that door. Nothing. Pitch black darkness. And people would stay in there for several days. A week maybe, in the hole. And Alcatraz, amazing thing, that the prison that no one's ever officially escaped from, 29 years it operated, 36 prisoners were involved in 14 different attempts. 2 men tried it twice, didn't succeed. 23 got caught, 6 were shot, and 2 were drowned, trying to make that mile and a half swim back across the shore. You know what? Other people have tried to make the prison that you could never get out of. There's places like Devil's Island. There's Australia was originally a prison. England took a whole continent and they dumped prisoners onto Australia's beaches and just left them there. That's how that beautiful, wonderful country was first seeded. It was seeded with criminals. You know, and as I'm thinking about all that, I'm thinking about this idea of forgiveness. A lot of us live in prisons when it comes to forgiveness. Last week we said that God commands us to forgive. God says we need to do this for multiple reasons. And we talked about the idea that forgiveness, that the magnitude of the sin cannot be greater than the magnitude of the forgiver's love. This is all about love. But there's a lot of us who are trapped because we don't know how to forgive. And unforgiveness becomes our prison. But forgiveness is central to God. It is the message of Jesus Christ. So the reason He came for it. And it is through the experience of forgiveness that you feel peace. It is through the experience of forgiveness we have joy. It is through the experience of forgiveness that we find freedom. That we become clean. And we feel confidence. Think for a second. How many of you feel clean this morning? Confident. How many of you feel peace in your life right now? Or joy? Or are these foreign things? Because right now, the anger, the bitterness, the rage, the frustration of whether it's a new offense or one that's been brewing for 20 years is just digging inside you and digging inside you. Do you have any idea how freeing it could be if we stepped into a life of forgiveness and what that would look like for us? We're going to look at the other person next week, but this is our week. This is you and I. We have made our own prison. This is despite knowing the risk of self-medication, 76% of Americans, both adults, are using non-prescription drugs to medicate themselves and their children. 76% of adults are taking whatever they can get their hands on to medicate life, and they're doing it to their children. Instead of dealing with the issues, dealing with the problem, they're just medicating themselves. 50% of people who abuse drugs, nearly 40% who abuse alcohol can be diagnosed with a form of mental illness. Estimated reports also show that people diagnosed with mental illness, 30% of them also abuse drugs and alcohol. They are linked together. And there are those that will tell you it's an addictive behavior. I'm addicted, and there is a part of that that comes down the line. But the truth is that we go to this stuff to numb ourselves, to hide ourselves, to not deal with the anger, to not deal with the problem, to not deal with the sin issue, to not deal with Uncle Joe or whoever it is. Because if you sit and you talk to people begin unraveling the package of their abuse, you'll often find a story of, I am so angry with somebody, I'm so angry, and every time I think of them, I got to go use. And it's a prison. It is a trap. It is an ugly, ugly place. We're going to look at a real-life guy. His name is King Saul. Saul was the first king of Israel. He was the original king for the nation, for God's chosen people. Saul at one time enjoyed a great life with God and with the people. He was a leader of integrity. And as life went on, he began to become prideful, self-centered. The ego kicked in. He made choices that were wrong in the eyes of God and man both. And so he began to stumble and fall, and the relationship began to unravel. We talked about relationship last week, about how we want a bullseye, sweet relationship. Well, Saul was crashing and burning, and it was affecting everything. And God finally said, enough is enough is enough. You lose your kingdom. You are no longer going to be the king. In fact, I've already picked out a guy that has my heart, that believes and will follow. And you've already been replaced, and the day will come when I will make the switch. And that's where Saul is at in his life. What a painful, dark, ugly place to be, to know that your sin, your choices are now having career ramifications, family ramifications. Your family has lost the throne because of you. You can't pass it on to your kid. So we're going to look at how ugly, how dark, how messy this can get. We're going to start in 1 Samuel chapter 16 this morning. Here's what's happening at this moment in time as he is sitting on the edge of darkness.